serious. Just tell me. I understand it. You found the scene yesterday. Just I guess if you could kind of to get it going here, tell me from the beginning.
Yes, sir. Around 9:45 yesterday, our deputies responded to a location on South Ridge Road in Winder. We responded to the scene. A family member had entered the home from across the street. An adult grandson of these victims that we found entered the home. There were 2 people deceased. Did not initially know how or why. We stayed on the scene obviously for quite a few hours. Deputies exited the home. We obtained a search warrant. Got our crime scene folks out there to include the GBI to help us process the home until about 1 o'clock this morning. So about 10 to 12 hours, maybe 13 hours worth of work last night. Still processing evidence and things. We found 2 deceased individuals in the home who they're homeowners. A gentleman by the name of Willard Hess, 70, and his wife Dorothy Hess, 72 years old, were both found in the home deceased. Initially, we did not know the cause of death, and we still don't know. As we speak, they are currently at the crime lab, and they're doing an autopsy to try to determine that. So we're not releasing the cause of death. However, we do feel, based on the evidence that we know right now, that they did pass away at the hands of another.
Is it just not obvious, clearly obvious what occurred?
Well, it's somewhat. We believe that obviously someone entered the home. We don't know if it was by force or not. We're not releasing that at this time. We do have in our press release a vehicle that is of interest to us, a black vehicle. In the pictures that we have, they're kind of pixelated, but we're asking the public and the news to get it out that this car is a vehicle of interest. It was obviously taken from a neighbor's home, from a camera system in the cul-de-sac there where the victims lived, and that vehicle had come back and forth a couple of times to that home this past weekend. Timeline-wise, we believe that sometime or another, late Thursday, early Friday was the last time that anybody's seen them at that point, and so we're trying to piece those times together. The grandson who lived across the street with his mother and father and 2 other siblings walked across the street to see his grandparents and check on them. Immediately realized this is not right. Immediately called 911. A lot of questions got brought out why both crime scene tape was on both locations. We did that simply out of caution for the grandson, in case he had anything on him, DNA or so touch DNA. So we've processed that and done that.
So the grandson is not a suspect.
Not at this time. We're not ruling anybody, but we don't think the grandson had anything to do with it at this point. No, until we find. I feel pretty confident where we're headed. Before I met with you, they were briefing me on and our investigations divisions what all they had at this point. We're really focusing on this car and who this car may belong to and why they were there at this house multiple times throughout the weekend.
So Thursday was the last time anybody saw them?
Thursday,
the 16th?
It's alleged that the Thursday the female victim was cutting grass and some of the neighbors saw her then. And then Friday, I think a family member had spoke to him, but we're still trying to piece that together as well.
Do you know this couple at all?
I don't. I know the female, Miss Hess, has retired and was retired and was kind of stay at home, helped with the family, with grandkids from what I understand based on their life. The Mr. Hess, Willard Hess, had not or was about to retire or had just recently retired. So still trying to piece their life and what they did. By all accounts, no problems in this neighborhood, no issues with the family that we know of right now, or anybody else that would want to do this. But
you've never been called out to it?
No, sir. No, sir, we've not.
Do you know what Mr. Hess did for a job?
I do not know. I do not know what he did for a living. I know he's not originally from Georgia, but that's really all I know. I don't know where he's from.
In 70 and 72?
Mm-hmm. Still, you think that's old. It's very, very, very young in my eyes. But everybody said they're grandparents, but they're their age, 70, 72, still had some life to live, and so they were tragically taken.
Was anything in the home, like a robbery, like an obvious robbery, like some computers and money and jewelry?
We don't know that at this point. We're still processing, but we're still having to, with the family members, due to the fact that both of them are gone. We're trying to figure out, hey, having some family go in with us once the scene is kind of cleaned up and stuff. So, hey, does anything look out of ordinary for you? By all accounts, the house was pretty well taken care of and very neatly taken care of. So, don't know that it was a home invasion, but we're not ruling out anything. I can tell you that.
Again, I know you might not be able to tell me. What is it, like ransacked?
Not that, no ransack that we can know of. But again, we're trying to figure out, piece it together. A lot of people speculated it might be, carbon monoxide poisoning. Finding 2 people. Another question was, is this a murder-suicide? We ruled those out pretty quickly. That they did die at the hands of another. So. We're going to hopefully catch the person or persons who did this, and hopefully we'll have somebody in custody very soon. And
now to talk about the car a little bit, can you tell us anything about that car, like make, model, anything about it?
We're asking the public for help. We think possibly that it looks like a Hyundai type vehicle. A lot of people are speculating. We put it out on Facebook, and of course Facebook is a wonderful world of good information and not so good information. But we're just having to get out there to see if anybody had noticed that car. A lot of the neighbors had the cameras. That's how we got the car. But it was not a known car in that area. But we're hoping that if someone has a car similar to that, say, hey, that's what kind of car this is. Kind of narrows down where it's at, because the pictures that we have are kind of broad and it's kind of hard to see. Obviously, it's a black car. It's a 4-door. We cannot tell who the driver is, if it's a male, female, white, black, Hispanic. We can't tell anything because of the distance and that sort of thing. So,
was it one of those doorbell cameras?
Right. Those are very popular now, and hopefully this doorbell camera will give us the break that we need to break this case.
Although oddly enough, the quality on those is not all that great, is it?
It's not. The one that we got was turned up pretty high, and you can actually see the car a couple of times. And the neighbors have been very cooperative. They're very concerned. We don't think this is someone. We believe this is an isolated incident, and it's just unfortunate that these people are still young, even though they're 70 young in their life, and tragically taken like that.
So, not on camera, did anybody see someone get in and out of the car? Or?
No, not that I know of. Not based on my investigators. No one saw them get out of the car. You see the car pull up, and you see it stay, and then a couple of times it's been seen, a couple of times in the video, back and forth. By all accounts, this is a very quiet neighborhood. Have very few calls that I'm aware of. Nothing major like this. It is a one-way street in and one-way out. It's one cul-de-sac and it's out. I'd say no more than 15 to 20 houses in the neighborhood. There's no other subdivisions around it. It's wooded area around it, so obviously somebody drove in and drove out.
Trying to think of anything else to ask you. Is there anything else that immediately?
Nothing that jumps out at me, no, sir.
It's kind of tough to take, elderly.
Right.
Sounds like a crime on the elderly, and
right.
And 2 at the same time. It's got to be pretty tough for your community. Your
It is. It's tough for the family. We need to pray for the young man, the grandson that found it, the family that lives so close to him. Our deputies. It was a tough thing for our deputies to process, but I'm confident that our people are going to find out who did this, hopefully sooner than later. And if we get that information, I hope they're prosecuted to the fullest, and that's what we're going to try to do.
And currently, so that you're, I'm not trying to say that you're waiting, but you're kind of waiting on the GBI to get back.
That's correct.
To kind of make the next big step.
That's correct. Once we find out the cause of death, to confirm from them, then we can kind of move to the next step. Each piece is a bigger piece of the puzzle for us to try to get the big picture done. So.
And just tell me a little bit more right now. So you're trying to get the word out to the public about the car. That
Right.
sounds like your
Well,
biggest
yes,
lead at the moment. So
that's
tell
correct.
me one last time what you're wanting the public to look for or be on the lookout for.
Well, obviously, this vehicle is a major vehicle of interest. The neighbors did not recognize it. No one has seen it there. So we're trying to figure out, okay, why is this vehicle there? Obviously, these people are deceased. You know, we want to either tie them to it or eliminate them from it. Why are they there? Who are they with? Why are they having interaction with the victims at some point? And we believe they were at the house during the weekend, either during or prior to, is what we believe, and that's why we're asking the public for help to hopefully say, hey, this is the kind of car, or I have a car like this, and this is what it looks like, to narrow down what we have. So,
All right.
all right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.